Hello Math 152 students. In this video, we'll take a look at getting started with Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is all about probability, and we're going to be connecting to the ideas of relative frequency that we've already discussed in the course. Chapter 5 is a little bit different in that we won't be using StatCrunch in this chapter. I like to think about Chapter 5 as having two approaches. We'll see a lot of formulas in Chapter 5 and a lot of probability rules. But on the flip side, a lot of our probability problems can be tackled by what I call follow your nose. In other words, if we're reading through and we see a formula, and then we get ready to work a problem, and it seems to make sense to utilize that formula, great, do it. But as we're reading through a problem and we see how to attack the problem and work it without writing down a formula, that's fine. So one of the things I urge you to think about is approaching these problems intuitively as well as trying to utilize the formulas. I like to think about the formulas as a resource rather than the first place that I go. For example, let's look at the chapter review at the end of the chapter, and I'll just show you some of the formulas that we'll be working with. So you have a formula list here, and it turns out that there's some formulas here at the end. These ones involving permutations, combinations, are not actually going to be utilized. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the rest of these probability rules will be discussed in sections 5.1 through 5.4. So what I like to do is keep those handy, and if I approach a problem and I don't see how to work the problem intuitively, then I look at my formula list to remind me of the tools in my toolbox. So let's go back to the concepts in 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4. Your book goes through and segments up the probability rules into the types of problems for these four sections. Then we actually are not covering 5.5. There's no 5.5 problems in your MyMathLab, and you won't see material from 5.5 on the midterm. That material talks about counting techniques and those permutation combinations, also these factorial notation. So you can skip over reading those problems, and the slides on the optional PowerPoint already have those problems taken out. Then in 5.6 is essentially a summary section. So there's no new rules. It summarizes the previous 5 sections. So be aware as you're reading through your book and looking at those embedded videos, we aren't covering 5.5, so there's parts of 5.6 that you should ignore. You really should focus on the summary for 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4. Alright guys, that's it for now. I will see you in the discussion boards.